It's break time. Welcome to our newest episode. It's your co-host, Rissy Ray.
Hey.
And yours truly, Kaninja. Today, Rissy and I are going to talk about children. So, children. Rissy, can you tell me why children are so important?
Important? Sorry. My bad. Children are so important because it allows you to be a one-dimensional person to be a two-dimensional person, right? And what I mean by that is when you're just if you don't do it, oh well. If you're just eating ramen or any low budget food, no nutritional value for extended period of time, who cares? You go to the doctor, do you even know how to call your doctor? But when you got that kid, you learn everything. You learning what is starches. Okay, you're learning starches. You're learning what is percentile. You're learning so many things that a child, not saying you can't, but I know that me having my child allows me to just have a broader understanding of other things.
Gotcha. Kind of to look outside yourself, really.
Pretty much. It's kind of it's a similar feeling to me if you like did community service where you're kind of like making sure that you and your family is okay, or you yourself is okay, and then you're like, hey, let me just open my scope a little bit. And I feel like that's what children do, because with children, you like for example with COVID, I'm making this a little bit COVID related. I'm currently in school and I already complete my classes online, right? Yes, girl. And so, but the thing is, right, I did not realize as big as like a big cities that are throughout the whole country of the US, there are still like, it's a misproportionate where you could be in a large city and there's children who do not have access to internet. I think it's the craziest thing. In the large city that we live in, that is an issue where the whole transition to online happened, but some students' only access to internet was the school. And that's something that unless you're in education, of course, where that is, child related, right? That's not knowledge you would know. That's just something where you're just like, okay, and all right. But with a child, like children, you notice that because obviously there's a lot of information, newsletters, stuff like that. You're like, that's a concern where yourself may not be affected, but someone's child is.
Right.
And with children, everyone is majority on the same page that children should have an equal footing in that, at least in their education. Now, if you want to go and be like crazy Kaninja and Rissy Ray and get their bachelors and get their masters, and then we have Bree who's probably gonna get her doctorate. Okay,
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised
because we're just a glutton for punishment, right? Now that's on you. Okay, that's on you. Okay, but
we're talking K through 12.
K through 12 should be that, and I feel like for me, my personal journey, children allow me to not only that, but allow me to expound on more like emotions, like learning to be more patient, just understand, slowed me down. Okay, not saying Rissy Ray was wilding out every weekend, because you can't afford that every weekend. But
not every weekend, maybe every now and then.
But now like my daughter allows me to check myself, where if I've had trauma from life, who knows that trauma, but like something where I'm like, I didn't like that, but then I'm spewing it on her, she is able to remind me, and I'm just like, hey, there's a better way for me to do this. There is a better way to do this, versus if you're by yourself, you're doing it because that's what you want to do and that's it. So
right.
That's my personal journey of having children. I was gonna add about taxis, but it don't even out. When
You mean taxes?
Taxis.
I was wondering, I was like, what does taxis have to do with this?
I'm like, so somebody doesn't watch the regular show, but
No.
it's an episode and they say taxis. And I said, I like how he said that. But it doesn't even out because even though you get the tax breaks where you get a refund, or at least it reduces your income, your taxable income. So your tax rate is a different rate. That's essentially what it is at the back end. But that which can result into a refund due to how much you pay throughout the year. It doesn't quite equal out, you know, when you factor in like nutrition, their food, their clothes, housing, because, you know, honestly speaking, if it's just you, right, you can live in a 1-bedroom and be, or a studio for that matter. You don't quite need the space. I mean, like I said, need, okay?
Right.
But with a child at some point level, everyone's kind of on the fence when you are in the same room with a, you know, 17-year-old. They need their own space so they can, you know what I mean? Like things like that for growth. And you can't, when you factor in all the cost from your taxis, okay, it doesn't quite add up. It's nice, but that's kind of where I am with children. How you feel, Kaninja? Cause you hey, you're around them kids, okay?
Around them kids.
You around them?
I do not have kids. I have a fur baby, but I do not have kids. But I do have nieces and nephews. So I don't have the same experience as Rissy, but I can definitely see that it does try your patience. At least with my fur baby, it does. And whenever I'm babysitting my nieces or nephews, it really does try your patience, and also allows you or forces you to be on a schedule. And so
you're right.
Yeah. And I never realized. And see, my mom has always told my siblings, you need to put your kids on a schedule. You need to make sure they're eating and sleeping at these certain times or taking naps at these certain times. They need to be on a schedule. I'm hearing it. I'm like, yeah, I'll totally do it when I have kids. So I have a fur baby and you have to do the same exact thing. So I didn't realize how important a schedule is for a little being, either a human being or a puppy. And then I didn't realize how much I don't run on a schedule. I thought I was a routine person.
You think that, right? You think that.
Exactly. But there's those times where I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't have to eat lunch, or okay, I don't have to get up from for my laptop or anything along those lines. Now I'm like, oh crap, it is 1:30. It's a half hour past my fur baby's lunchtime.
Exactly. Like you eat whenever you eat. Now you have to be on a somewhat of a routine. And if you don't put them in a routine, it's detrimental to their everything.
Exactly. Or even just detrimental to your own schedule too. So like usually if you get a baby or a fur baby on a schedule, you can actually work your schedule around that schedule and be like, okay, if I feed this baby at like 1, then he's probably going to have to go poop or pee at like 1:32. And then I can rearrange my schedule from there. And then if I feed him at 4 or 5, and then they'll poop or pee around 6 or 7, and then we'll lay down, and then he'll go to bed. And then we'll start all over again. So
because it's so gross, but it's not because it's yours.
Right.
Like, think about it, without them, like, who cares? Like, if another adult tells you, like, that's what? Like, I don't even know next time you poop. Like, what?
Exactly. Huh? And then you write it down because you're just like, okay. I mean, so with your little one, potty training, did you have to do something like that for potty training?
Yes. And it was annoying because it was like, you gotta go. Like, but then it's like, you don't teach them, you're the worst person on earth.
Yeah.
You didn't teach them to be potty trained. But at the same time, I'm tired of all these peed on underwear. It's gross, but it's because it's yours, it's okay. Like, what?
Right, exactly. And you can't get mad at them either because you're like, dang it, it's my fault. I should have made sure you went to the bathroom.
Like, you're right. It's you. You redirect it, and it's you.
Yeah.
Like, huh? No. So, I have a fur baby as well, and he gets on my nerves too. So it's
He's a little angel.
of course. Well, yes, he is quiet. He went to doggy daycare, but then it's like doggy daycare, like that's an extra how many dollars? It's very expensive. So please make sure, breaker buddies, when you decide to have a fur baby or a regular baby, by whichever means, oh Lord Jesus, just they're so expensive.
The dollar signs are unreal with how expensive they are.
Right, and they're looking at you like, I'm here because you want me. So chop chop.
Right. This was your decision, your choice.
Right. So I'm gonna hurry up. So it but how do you feel? Like it definitely some self-awareness there, Kaninja, because hey, you thought you were a routine type of gal, all right?
Yep.
Lose with, and then your fur baby came and was like, no,
Right.
I'm upgrading you.
Exactly. And it teaches me to adapt quickly. So
Yes.
mhm.
That is a great way to describe it. And the only reason why I say that is there are certain things with your fur baby or your nieces or my child where you can't just wallow in it, like give yourself a second. You just have to like, okay, but this is like literally the nth moment right now.
Yeah.
Fix it. Just get over it. I know it just taught me just to get over it on some degree, not all everything, but like just to like, hey, okay, well, your fur baby just peed on the carpet for the nth time. So what are you gonna do now? I'm gonna be more aware. So when I see that he's doing that little circle thing, bam, like
right. Exactly. So, but exactly. So adapting and making sure you are just ready for it, because it's self-restraint, adapting, and everything along those lines.
Yeah. So what you got next for us, Kaninja?
Oh, Jesus. So yeah. Anyway, so other than kind of what children kind of teach us and everything along those lines, let's kind of talk about what has happened in the past. So children have been a big thing about reproducing, about, women have to have children. And, in certain areas, like at one point, I don't think they do this anymore, but a while ago in China, it was super famous of a law that you can only have one child. And a lot of times, if you have more than one child, I think at one point, now this could be taken totally out of context, but I think at one point, if you had more than one child and that child was a female, then either the child would be put up for adoption or it would actually be killed because it was so overpopulated. Now, break room buddies, fact check me on that. So I definitely want to see on our Facebook page, Twitter, or Instagram a fact check on that. But I believe that's what happened because they were so overpopulated. They always had children. And so, and males were always the better of the sex or better of the gender. So they said, okay, well, you have a male, we'll keep them. If you have a female, then either adoption or kill. I think it started out from kill, and I think it gradually went to adoption. And then it, of course, now I think Japan is at a crisis where a lot of people are not reproducing because a lot of women are going to work and don't have time to actually stay home and have kids. And a lot of people, can't afford to stay home and have kids, or they don't want to have kids. So now we're getting to a situation where our generation, the millennial generation, are having less and less kids. And so the world leaders are like, well, we need to figure out how we can keep population up or so we don't have a downfall in population.
But at the same time, you keeping it at one.
So that happened in China, from what I remember reading up on and kind of watching on YouTube, but kind of watching is that So that happened probably early 1900s. And now it's kind of like they're like, oh crap, like we made a mistake. Because that was China, and Japan is the one that's having trouble with kids. And then I read an article where they're just blaming all millennials for not having kids. Well, now we're getting into a situation as to why we're not having kids is because we can't afford kids. Just like what you said, Rissy, earlier on, is that it has huge dollar signs. Kids are expensive, and we don't have the luxury to stay at home and have a one parent income.
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy stuff. But on the other hand, you have other countries, I believe like Sweden, they have a lot of good maternity leaves and paternity leaves. I believe Canada as well. But I believe one country in Europe has about 2 years of maternity leave or a paternal leave. So yeah, so that one enables people to be able to bond with their child and to have kids. But the countries don't want to do that.
What? It's
USA.
weird. USA. USA. Well, and you know what's interesting when you think about your upbringing, majority, not everyone's different. So whatever, one rule does not apply to everyone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, everybody needs air at this moment
Mm-hmm.
before we learn how to breathe underwater, right? So check this out. Okay. My upbringing, I remember my mom more than my dad, right?
Okay.
And that seems to be a lot of people's stories, that they bond more with their mom for whatever reason, or they saw more of their mom than their dad. And and again, this is not everyone's story, but this is pretty much like a typical story for a lot of people. And what I find is interesting is that I feel like that parental leave does help with that bonding. So I've noticed a lot of, people are taking time out. Dads are able to take time out, because remember back when you wouldn't be able to, like, dads weren't even in the living room years, centuries ago. It was just, it was a women thing, and they just sat out in the room with a cigar or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me my beer.
Right, give me my beer. Yeah. And so now it's like, for my example, my daughter's father, he had one leg while it was pushing. That definitely was not the norm back then. So I feel like with social norms being different, like what we thought was normal is not socially normal or correct anymore. It's kind of like it's a free-for-all at this point. I don't see why parental leave is not. We always have maternity leave, which is great, right? But it's like, I don't see, with all the different social changes that's going on, why isn't it pushed?
Right.
Like why is it not, like, right now, if you hear of a, or whoever, like both parents, I'll say this, both parents or both partners or whatever are taking care of the kid, it's not just child, it's not just one person. Where one's out and they're working. It's like, hey, we're both able to be home and we're both able to bond.
Right. It is so important for a child to bond with their father. And it's so easy for the child to bond with the mother, not only because, like you mentioned, they usually are the ones that stay home because of the maternity leave, but also because they're in the womb. So they already get that initial start of that bondage with the mother. And if the father doesn't get that paternity leave, it's just like what you said. I mean, I had the same thing. My dad, he was the main breadwinner. And so there was a lot of times where I didn't see him. And the majority of the time I saw my mom. She went to all of my sports things, and my dad went to some of them, but he had to work. So if we had some more things like that here, or just worldwide, then I believe that more people would be more apt to have kids if they so want to.
Right. That's just crazy.
Definitely. So I guess, other than the population control, why do you think that people expect women to have kids? Like, how they're like, oh, so you're married, when you're going to have kids? Or, hey, you're getting to that age now, your biological clock, when are you going to have kids? Why do you think people do that?
Because they're nosy. Because they're nosy.
Ding, ding,
Okay.
ding. Right answer.
Because I think it was already meshed in our minds. And I think that's just, well, I'm going to be a little historic, okay? The mortality rate for having children and surviving was super high. Just, just throughout the course of history before modern medicine. And even that took a little bit to kind of make it where the mortality rate wasn't so high. So with that being said, it's like, oh yeah, if you have, like, that's just like, oh my goodness, you have a child, that's just wonderful, because people out here dying or the baby's not making it. Like, if you can have a healthy child, oh my goodness, like, oh. So I can see where it's like you want one, because like, hey, a lot of people can, or like your cousin just passed away, like, you can do it, you're healthy, you can do it. And I think that's where everyone's just kind of like that whole stigma of, for women anyway, like for men it's success and money. If the guy is or whoever, male role, whatever, we're going back. I will be corrected at some point about this, but what I'm saying is this, okay? Old school rules, it was, the guy being, or male being the breadwinner, right? And you got to be successful. They dealt with the stresses of being out there and making money. Gotta make the money, okay? And if you don't know how to, if you don't know how to fix a car, you're worthless, because you're not a man. You need to know how to fix this car, this vacuum, anything someone tells you to fix, you need to be able to fix it.
You need to be Chuck Norris.
All day, every day. No pressure. You just need to be able to fix everything in the house. Like, who knows how to fix a vacuum cleaner? Like, I just toss it and get a new one.
Yeah, that's what I do.
No, you need to know how to work that. And so that was more instilled for men, like that in that role anyway, of, hey, you need to be a provider, bam, bam, bam. And not necessarily the opposite where you be a stay-at-home dad, right? It was like, if you're in the house, why are you in the house? You are a failure if you're in the house right now.
Right. You should be out there supporting your family by making money.
And so for women, I feel it's more of like, hey, you're at the house. House needs to be clean. You got to still be pretty. And, and you got to bore these kids. It's just a lot. And I feel like that was mentioned, like, hey, that is the picture of a perfect family. Guy works, makes good money. Women, you're at home, making sure the house, and you can bake, and you can cook.
Yeah.
Like that whole, like, what was it, like pre-made stuff, or going to, to different places to get, like, a lot of people, that wasn't a thing. It's a thing now, but because no one cares at this point. You can get close to home cooked at this point, but they're like, no, you need to be able to make give me something, a 5-layer cake with no recipe right now. Make it.
You're gonna be getting a lot of flour.
Okay, I need flour.
That's about it.
Right, like they have to know recipes on top of their head, blah blah. It's just crazy. And I feel like that was like the picture of a perfect, woman, being able to bear children and have children and have a family and be married and all that stuff. And I think that's what was pushed. So therefore, if I'm ranting, let me know. But am I ranting? Oh, okay.
No, you're good. So it's basically like a generational thing.
Yeah. And so now we're in the mode of, and it was like, how dare you not give life? Why won't you give life? You are able to give life. Give it. And, kids are not for everyone, especially since if I hate to say it, but if you know that you're really focused on you and what you got going on, children make it difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I want to be a singer-songwriter, and I don't see myself going down for the count, I've seen people do it, but it's very difficult. And if you're a person who doesn't like very difficult, then they're not for you.
Right, exactly. And definitely if you don't want to make those changes, like you said. But a lot of people also look into, hey, I don't want to ruin my body. So a lot of times, well, not all the times, all the time when, a woman has kids or, goes through pregnancy and labor, there's a lot of changes and possible destruction that happens to a woman's body that could also impact their own image to themselves. So a lot of women, other than if they can't have kids, but they also, choose to adopt, and they're like, oh, that's so expensive, but there's so many kids out there that need a home, you know, or they just end up not having kids because it's just not for them. Maybe they
Mhm.
have a disorder, or maybe they have something going on with themselves that they feel like they don't want to carry forward, to another generation, or they just don't feel like they have the right mindset to take care of a child, to be selfless. I mean, you literally have to be selfless to take care of a child because that child is selfish, you know? By default, they have to be, or they won't survive. So,
I'm sorry. It's just like, you're like, they are selfish. I'm like, you're absolutely right, because you're absolutely right. Okay. That's it. You're absolutely right. And I was having flashbacks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I'm laughing very, very hard because I'm having flashbacks as we're talking about this topic, because this topic is near and dear to my heart. And I am I'm laughing because that summed it up. I asked myself, why did my little one do something? And this answered it: because she's selfish. Like, why are you even asking her why she did this? Why did she destroy your carpet? Because she's selfish. So
because she wanted something,
Mhm.
she didn't get it.
Right. And I was like, you know what? Whatever. And that is true. Some people, some have chosen. I was watching there's certain documentaries, and I've noticed that if there's an issue with like if there's a medical condition, right? Some people have decided to not have children just because there's a 50-50 chance. And unfortunately, some people have taken that chance, even with the 50-50, not even with, but genetics and science, and I feel like it's a little bit of luck in between. You can that particular gene or whichever that caused a certain condition isn't present. Right. But you can do it, someone else can do it across the street, and their child has the condition.
Right.
And I do see that, hey, that is true. Or I watched this other documentary because I love true crimes. The Hitlers, okay? The Hitlers changed the actually moved where they're like cousins, they're distant cousins to Hitler. And they moved, and they are located in the US. I'm not sure if they're still alive because no one has time to do research right now. But some of the brothers, because there were sons, chose not to have children to not carry that Hitler name.
I mean, that makes sense. I mean, who would want to look back on the ancestry, because that's big now, to see that they're strongly related or used to be related to Hitler. I think any child would be like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to be related to Hitler, but you don't have a choice. And everyone else is just like, oh, you're related to Hitler. That means that, you think these things. Like, no, but that puts a child in a very tough spot once they find that out. So on that note, we are going to go on a break, and we'll be back. And we're back. So I didn't really do much on the break. I'm going to take a number from Sidorox and a few episodes ago saying I did not do a single thing, but he used not a damn thing. So plug into our previous podcast on vaccines. So,
oh my gosh.
So Rissy, what did you do during the break?
So in the break, since we, bringing up about children, so my darling, she needed Play-Doh for class, and I did not have Play-Doh. So obviously old school, we know how to make Play-Doh by dough, right? So I did it just for that assignment, and I guess she didn't get the memo, all right, that it was just for this assignment. She decided to take it a step further and took markers, colored her Play-Doh, one blue, one black, because that's the marker she could find. Thank the Lord it was in more. And so they have hardened in different places that she didn't tell me where she put it. So I'm finding crumblies all in this house. And she was just so happy to just show me the blue, because my favorite color is blue. She was so happy to show me the blue Play-Doh that she made for me. She's like, hey, here's a blue Play-Doh because your favorite color is blue. And I wanted to tell her like I didn't need Play-Doh.
Why?
So 2 markers ended up drying out. I have crumblies
Oh.
everywhere, and apparently she ate popcorn in my bed. Uh,
Patience, everybody.
but again, I am selfless, and kids are selfish.
Exactly.
So
Oh, that must have been a very entertaining break.
Take her.
Take her. I got my own baby to take care of.
Take 2 of them. You're good for it.
Hey, I've told many people I'm glad I'm having a fur baby before a real baby because I don't think I can do both.
It's lots of I can't say that because then you'll report me. I was about to say lots of drinking, but perseverance, that's the word for it. Perseverance.
Yeah, break room is perseverance.
Perseverance.
Oh man. So speaking of children, of course, there is this new I wouldn't say a new trend, but some things that I have heard of is when people end up starting to have kids, they end up either doing one or the other when it comes to colors, when it comes to gender colors. So I've seen people who have a girl and they say, no, push all the pinks and purples. You know, they're a girl, so all they can have is pink and purple. Or same with the boy, only blues and greens. All they can have is blues and greens. And then you have another type of couple where it's saying, hey, I don't care. Don't just give me blues and greens. Give me some pinks and purples for my son. And vice versa with my daughter. Don't just give me pinks and purples. Give me some blues and greens. You know, I'm a huge proponent on yellow and orange, but so I guess, Rissy, what are your thoughts on that whole dynamic and kind of how the latter is starting to become a little bit more popular?
So I think because it's like, because see, my favorite color is blue. My birth month is blue. And I just like how the blue shade. I don't know. I feel like to me it's cost effective. Let me switch it to my personal experience. So when I first had my first ultrasound for my little one, I was told I was having a boy. Obviously, we're talking in present tense, it's a girl, right? So I went to my second ultrasound and I was told it was a girl. So what do? Break room buddies. So what I did push the gender neutral colors, even though I went, I had them double, triple check. I pushed the neutral colors. And I felt like the reason why I wanted to do it just so that my little one is aware there's other colors than pink. I have an older sister and she likes pink. But pink is also her birth month. So I think we're more, but still pink. So she was pink and I was blue. And I think it just let them know that there's other colors. And with that being said, she loves pink. As parents, or as parents, guardians, you want them to know like, hey, there's other ranges and it's okay. Sometimes they just revert back. They might say, okay, well, I like pink.
But they got a taste and they're like, nah, I like the first one.
Oh yeah, like I told my little one, because like we don't, obviously we're just, she's little, so she's like, she asked me what my favorite color was. I said blue, and she said that's a boy color. What about purple for you? I said, okay, you're being a little bit stereotypical. Little girls like pink and purple, but you're okay with that, okay? And you're telling me what my color is. That's even more typical of a little girl. That's great.
Her and I would get along. I'm a purple girl.
Oh my goodness. So how do you feel? I mean, I think the only neutral color that I think I picked was yellow and gray. That's what I picked. But then I noticed that when you do that, you're there, it opens the door for your kid to be called like other than what they are. Right.
I mean, I can see it in 2 different ways. I mean, I understand why people want to push those certain colors. One, mainly because the majority of girls' clothes are pink and purple. and the majority of boys' clothes are brown, are blue, are green. You know, they have those main colors that are easy to find in stores. So it's easier that way because of, well, marketing and so on and so forth. But for, I guess, whenever I have a child, which hopefully Break Room Buddies will be sometime next year, we'll see.
Oh, Lord.
When I have a child, I think I will go with a gender neutral, only because I just don't see the point in Kaninja's opinion. I don't see the point in pushing a certain color for a child, because there's this weird stigma, or maybe this weird thought that, hey, if I give my child a different color, then they'll turn out to be a certain way. And I don't believe in that type of thought process of, if I give my daughter a blue train, then she'll turn out to be more masculine. No, she just likes blue trains, and if she isn't more masculine, it's not because of the train, it's just because of her genetic makeup. That's Kaninja's belief. So that's kind of where I stand when it comes to the different colors. But when people do want to push those colors, I don't think one way or another, because I definitely have seen people have a certain opinion on other people. They're like, wow, yeah, exactly. Like, wow, you're pushing those colors. Or on the other hand, wow, your son has a Barbie, or your son is wearing pink shorts or a pink shirt. You know, well, then if your son can't wear a pink shirt, then that goes to, you know, toxic masculinity. It could be, if you keep pushing that, you know. So we're taking this like a small little thing that you do when you have kids to a more escalated issue. So Kaninja's opinion, I'm all for the gender neutral. And if I have a daughter, she'll wear yellow, but she'd have a yellow bow. So
yeah, like, just open the whole rainbow. And then on top of that, honestly, the whole, you know, the colors is just more, it's convenient for other people. You know what you have. I mean, just say, like, you're the parent, you know what you have. It's just convenient for, like, other folks to be like, oh, you have instead of just saying you have a pretty child or kid or whatever, that's fine. But you gotta say, for whatever you got a pretty girl or a handsome son. No, a nice looking kid. And then on top of that, why am I even talking to your kid right now? He or she is probably getting on my nerves. They're probably getting anyway. You know, so I think it's just easier for other people. I think other people like to be more fluffed about certain stuff. Like, because it's one of those things. If I saw a little boy play with a Barbie, it doesn't really bother me, because guess what? He's quiet.
He's not causing trouble.
I'm just saying. Like, okay. Because like you mentioned earlier, Kaninja, yeah, people might say it's a nature versus nurture thing, but if he's going to turn out whatever he's going to turn out, he's going to turn out however he's going to turn out. Okay. He's quiet though. He's making a mess over there.
He's a good kid.
He's a good kid. Like, let's not, like, my little one. She had found some dinosaur toys, and I didn't grow up playing dinosaurs or whatever. My younger brother did, but my baby played with it just fine. She plays with it. She plays with it perfectly. She mixed it in. So there's a dinosaur plus a random airplane, some shoes that she found, and her LOL dolls. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a little one's imagination. And then somehow my oven mitts are in there. Like, what?
What an imagination, I swear.
Right, like, the oven mitts are in there. Like, what? Excuse me? Like, it's there. So, no, it is convenient for other people. I look at the bigger picture, which is, are you leaving me alone?
That's the big picture, guys.
Yeah.
Break Room Buddies. That's Rissy's bigger picture.
Are you leaving me alone? That's all that matters.
Are you doing your own thing and not causing trouble? Then you're good in my book.
I'll give you whatever you want, okay? I'll give you whatever you want. But that's my take on it. It just could be it for other people for whatever
Awesome.
reason.
So I guess on a totally different note, though, kind of going into the troubled children, how do you handle, or what are your thoughts on discipline on kids?
Oh my goodness, it honestly has changed. It's changed. I've learned to do a timeout chair
Mm.
and really talk to her. I know some people, that's their opinion, but I try to talk to her as she's on the timeout chair, like, why are you there not having fun? While I'm having fun. I make sure she's right with me. So my timeout chair is not in a separate area of the house that I heard that is best be that way. No, I have her right here while I'm watching TV, watching my SpongeBob, and showing her like, hey, you're missing out on all this fun because this is what you did. This is what you did. Because I am eating whatever I'm eating. And not saying food. We're talking like a piece of candy or something. Like I'm eating candy.
Like, her in a cage, and you're just like, yes, I'm eating food you haven't eaten all day.
Thank you, Kaninja, for fluffing it up. Yes. It's not food. It's like pieces of candy, okay?
Starve, you selfish being.
But that's what I do with her. I try to be like very visual about it, give her the method to the madness, if that makes sense. You know, she is a child, so I try to be mindful of the age, the capacity. Emotions, I think is the biggest thing when it comes down to kids, is that emotional part. And it's really hard to like hone that. It really is.
Right, exactly. And the biggest thing too for that is the children don't understand their own emotions.
No.
And they can't control it either. So they kind of need the parents' help to navigate their own emotions, to figure out, first of all, what they're feeling and why they're feeling it, and what's the correct way of actually portraying their feeling, you know. And other than that, you'll just have a kid that falls to the floor because you said, can you say please? And they fall to the floor. So that happens.
What do you do then?
Look, let me break group bunnies, Rissy, let me tell you a story. So I absolutely love my nieces and nephews. Bottom of my heart. I would do anything for them.
Okay.
But there are so many things that they have done that is so funny. So funny. And but one thing that my niece, my beautiful, smart, very, very smart niece, when she was 1.5 or so, she did not want to say please and thank you.
Oh Lord.
It was a bane of her existence to say please or thank you.
Jesus.
You know, she knew to say please. She knew how to say please. You know, because on a situation where she didn't ask for something and we just say, hey, can you say please? And she's like, please. So she knew how to say please. But when she wanted something, and I remember this, I will always remember this. It was, I believe it was on like either her brother's birthday. I think it was her brother's first birthday. And she wanted a ball. And I was like, you gotta say please. She fell to the floor.
Oh,
instant.
Lord.
Fell to the floor, cried. Instant. I just stood there. And I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then she'll get up after like 2 or 3 minutes. And then she'll ask for it again. I'm like, no, you gotta say please, to the floor. Completely. This happened like 3 or 4 times. And to the point where like on the 5th time she fell to the floor, she wasn't even crying. She just fell to the floor and started playing with the grass. Like, and I was like, you are so lucky you are not my child right now.
She's like, how dare you, people?
Exactly. Being an auntie really helps with your patience, because you have to deal with other people's kids and not have to beat them.
Right. You have to be creative. See, you got to be creative. where a lot of people, when they were beat, they just remember their parents like popping them, but not necessarily the lesson. They just knew that they cried in their room. Okay,
right.
And that's not what we want to do with the purpose. You know, where it's not something where 20 years later we're like, you know what, I deserve to get beat because I was acting 20 years later. Like,
didn't feel that way when you were getting beat, did you?
No, or after the fact, like it just was because it was like 1 through 10, for like step 110 or whatever it was. So yeah, it's emotions, right? We have to. She's trying to tell you that no, I don't have to tell you, please. Y'all are my servants, and servants don't get manners.
Selfish.
But how dare you? You know, these are the things I want. How dare you, servants? And that's what happened.
How dare you, peasants?
That's basically what y'all did to my baby. My sweet, wholesome baby.
Oh man. But Rissy, it is so good though that like you were trying to talk to your little one and navigate through her feelings, because I have seen from my nieces and nephews of them doing that, and you really actually have a conversation with the children, and the children are listening to you, and by talking to them is forcing them to navigate through their own feelings. You're just guiding them through it, and that's so helpful, because at that point they're like, okay, well, maybe I don't have to act this way to get what I want. You know, maybe I'll just ask mom, or do it another way and not get caught, which I know other people have done.
Uh-oh.
But I've seen that many times, actually more so in our generation than I have anywhere else. And I've just seen awesome results from having that conversation. Now, Rissy, do you think that just doing that and no, like a little no spanking, no papow, I call it papows, but no spankings or anything along those lines, like, do you totally swear off spankings and papows, or do you do it on rare occasions, or do you not want to say in case any break room buddies calls? You know, was it
CSI? Wait, no, it's not.
I was CSI or something like that.
Something, Child Protective Services. Okay. To me, I feel like strategy is key, right? To me, anyway, with children, with life, and for me, I noticed that her fear of taking away a toy or fun is more important than a papow. I know, because I noticed, like, when I used to like pop on the hand or whatever, that she shook it off. Like, she actually told me one time that didn't hurt. And I said, okay, so I'm about to go down a dark path right now. I'm
gonna make it hurt.
Right. That's the initial reaction, right? Like, if you're like, I'm gonna make it, but you're like, no, like, you have to stop yourself and be like, this is a 5-year-old who doesn't know that you're from the streets, okay? She doesn't know you're about that life right now. She doesn't know anything of your upbringing. She doesn't know anything about you right now, okay? She's literally she just does not know. So I was like, okay, that's fine. And so when I started taking things away, that's when we got better. We got better on the same page, more behaved. Now she's a child and she's creative and all this other stuff, but I feel like that. So I do feel like papows do work for certain children if that's their fear of consequence, right? Because it won't work if they start getting like a tough bottom, like if they start getting hardcore like my little Gemini, it's not gonna matter. Like, you're gonna still see certain things, but once I took her favorite toy and put it on top of the fridge, and you know I'm short, so I had to take time to get my step stool, put it on top of the fridge, and she was so hurt that it was on top of the fridge. She was just like, "What do I need to do to bring him downstairs? What do I need to do?" He was asking me.
Tell me what I need to do.
Tell me what I need to do it, and I will do it. And didn't have to do anything. I didn't ran and put her. I was just like, hey, I'm not talking to you. And then again, but you also be mindful of emotions because even adults act out. So I think it's a mixture. But yeah, that's really you gotta get them where it hurts. That's like right now as adults, what hurts us, right? Well, there's other things on the list, but money. Okay, that's why nobody likes late fees, nobody likes overdraft fees, ...
Right.
You gotta get them where it hurts, and it hurts in your pockets.
Right.
Kids,
Exactly.
you gotta be a little bit creative. And
Right.
I love your niece, by the way. She's like, how dare you?
She is a feisty one. Love her to death. She is a feisty one.
I like her. She's about it.
I think on a different note, just a little other fun story. One of my nephews, me and my fiance, give me a name.
Oh, Dylan.
Dylan, me and my fiance Dylan, we would call him names because we would go back and forth with the nephew and us, just calling each other like peanut head, walnut head, watermelon head, whatever the case. We'd go back and forth. So me and Dylan were just like kind of whispering a little bit, like being like, hey, like his name and all that stuff. And we would just keep on whispering and he's ignoring us. He's playing his strings, ignoring us. He must be like 4 at this time. And so he's just, you can see him festering in his head, like as we're just like, hey, 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 all that stuff. And then, so I'm walking by, he turns around, points at me and goes, peanut head, with the most angriest face.
Whoa.
This
really?
nephew cursed me out.
He cursed you out, and baby.
Did. He cursed me out, baby. So, but hey, I mean that their parenting for him was the talking through things, and he was able to ignore us for a good bit. So at 4, I give him kudos.
Lord Jesus,
so,
no.
On that note, sorry, we definitely have to. We would love to talk about this more.
To be continued.
To be continued on children. But it does look like we are almost out of time. Before we get back to work, let's finish out with our final thoughts. Rissy, would you like to go first?
Yes. Oh goodness, I gotta print it in so quickly too. So I got a lot to say because this one right here, I love her. Okay, I'm sorry, my 30 seconds. 3, 2, 2, 1. Children is such a topic because it actually, the view of children has changed with our personal, well, actually our whole global social changes, where having 19 kids was normal. Where do you see 19 kids anymore? You barely see one. So I think with children, it just depends on you and your lifestyle and what you want to maintain in that said lifestyle. And that is my 30 seconds.
All right. So then I'll go 3, 2, 1. So children are just, you got to take care of them. You got to take care of them. If you want them, if you don't want them, it's no big deal. No big deal whatsoever. You do your best, navigate your own emotions. Don't let your kids take you down to their level. They're your children. You are the adult. Don't let them do that. It is so easy to do that. And fun fact, having kids and what we just talked about is basically what I'm doing with my fur baby. So if you have a puppy, kind of think about those kinds of ways too when it comes to discipline. So you don't have to give puppies puppows. You can kind of take away or don't give them attention. That kind of works too. So, and those are my 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Awesome. So be sure to comment on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter on your different ideas or different ways of how you either you raise your kids, you discipline, or any of those sorts, anything that you'd like to share. With that, thank you all for listening in. Bye, Breaker Room Buddies.
Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you for spending your break with us. Time to get back to the grind. For some suggestions on what we talk about next time, send us an email at ourbreakroom@gmail.com. See you next time, Break Room Buddies.